we finish? Did we finish? No. We didn't finish the paragraph, which is which is the second paragraph, the voice of. So what he's saying is that the whole avodah we described till now is the avodah to battle, neutralize the Zion Umas, the foreign emotional entanglements, the Avazoras, the foreign loves, and so on. But to deal with Amalek, this needs the deeper avodah, the avodah of the Avdai, which is expressed in the second parsha of the Shema. The first, we explained the whole Reishis of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, which is Das Tachten and Hashem Echad Das Elyon, and the whole Hizboninus. Before that, in Psuket Zimra, leading up to Birchas Krishma, that lays out the whole avodah as embodied in Avram Avinu. So that's all necessary. What's interesting here is, friends, which needs to be noted and appreciated and understood, which we won't address right now, but usually, right, the avodah of Kabbalah's Earl is first. The Yesod is Kabbalah's Earl, and then we talk about the avodah of Seichel and Midas. Meidani, they begin to the Meidani, you learned in the previous Maamer. But here the Seder is dafka not that way. So this is speaking about a different kind of Kabbalah's Earl. That's the answer, which we'll see when we learn further. This is a Kabbalah's Earl that comes dafka after the avodah of his bonus and the yichud of Das Elyon and Das Tachten, which comes through a deep understanding and appreciation, and it's an emotional relationship of Avos Hashem, clearly demanded from every Yid. The mitzvah of Kriya Shema with the first parasha, even if you don't read the second, even though the second one, it's the foundation, it's Kabbalah's Earl. So again, the answer is this is a unique Kabbalah's Earl. It's in addition to the Meidani that the Jew declared sincerely that morning, which we will see. So he started to say as follows, that on the one hand, the Eved, we're talking the avodah of which appears in Parsha Shnia. And so an Eved, on the one hand, Bafkir and Nithalei, left unto his own, so he wants no boundaries. Why does he do what he does? It's only because of the fear of the master. However, that's taka one level of Eved. Let's continue with Inyan Bezek. This is B'rai Behemna. So it's by the number 34 in the text. Everybody has it? What are we talking about? We're talking about a level. Here's the deal, which you pointed out yesterday. The question, kind of, because he just finished saying Eved, and then what's the quote? Child. We're talking about the Avodah of an Eved, not a Ben. So here the point is that here's the Maila of this is a Ben who is an Eved, which is not the Avodah of Meidani. Meidani is just pure Kabbalah. So it's very atzmizdik, perhaps both higher than Ben and an Eved. But here, the avodah of Ben has been developed. The Yid is davening and he's exhorting himself to appreciate and understand Elikus and the truth of the Eibishter, what is creation. And he's reached, he said the Shema Yisrael sincerely, and there's an element of Yahavta, presumably. So now comes in addition to this avodah of Ben Sho'evet. That's what he's saying here now. So there's a son, Ishtadl Basar Avulav Begin Yikare. This is a child who does for his father, exerts himself for his father, not for his own glory, and begin Yikara Davur, for his father's glory. Now, the way the Rebbe teaches this out is quite extraordinary, as we said it quickly yesterday, but we're going to revisit it now. The Hainu, meaning Sheesh Uif and Shaved Elimedat Torah became mitzvah, so begin Yikara. So there's an avodah, it's for the self. Learning of Torah and mitzvahs is for the self, for the person, for the child himself. Namely, that there's a benefit for him. All right, if we would just stop here, good. What's the te'eles? He's becoming elevated, refined, all of the. And then he adds, "V'te'eles leklolos hashefa ba'olam." Well, he's doing it because he's fixing the world. Now that's pretty selfless. Nonetheless, he calls that begin yikare for his own glory. As he goes on to Labbe, commission is barely like we said earlier, he's born as the whole Aved of Shema Yisrael, which leads to the Aved of Ava. So this is not just a personal thing. He pearls in the world. Her feet descend to death. Again, as a reference to Malchus, as Malchus produces Bia and Asiya and Parli. So all of this is nullified and inspired and transformed. So first of all, he's mevatel the other midas. Means on a personal level, he's embarrassed with his other emotional entanglements and desires. That's the sumira. And then he does very lives. He channels into good. And this is all begin yikare. He just concludes. He calls that begin yikare. This is in order for yikare for his own glory. Wow. What's his glory? What's his gishmak? What is his agenda? His agenda is a chassid and to transform the world, to fix the world. So the Rebbe says, you're not asked to have any agendas. But then there's avoid according to Zoya of a child. Again, a child, so it's a loving relationship. The das for the father, not because of the glory of the father, not even any satisfaction. Like the to serve him, which is the quote from the pasuk in Parsha Shnia, like the yoke, the shirt on the ox. He's going to elaborate. I'm just going to tell you a story that the Metzin Shem Tov used to say. I mentioned in the past. I heard it from the Yoel. The Yoel was saying, in all honesty, doesn't know whether Ben Shem Tov himself held by it. Certainly not us. But it's a story worth saying and aspiring to. A story, a Muslim, or it's a story. And so, I mean, to a certain degree, the Ben Shem Tov did hold by it, clearly, as evidenced by his life. He was the kind of person to make demands of things he didn't hold by, certainly didn't struggle with or aspire to, at some degree, realize. And what's the story? It's a story when the king is traveling and he has to go from one place to another with his army. And so there's a river, and there's no time to build the bridge. And so the soldier marches into the water, it drowns, and on top of another one, and another one, and another one, until this platoon made of dead soldiers is formed. Why should they drown? So Bensha was saying the only real chassid here is the one on the murky bottom, because the one, as in contrast to the last one, when he went into the water on top of the back of the soldier before him, so he has the satisfaction of knowing that the king's boot's going to be on his back, and the king will achieve his objective, mission accomplished, and the army will go forward, the king will go forward. But the one that went down to the murky depths was all volunteer. So does he know whether someone's going to follow him? And that's not enough. If someone else does, a lot of guys have to follow him, and it all could be in vain. So Bench was saying, so that's the it was actually a Russian word for this. I don't remember it. A Russian word for this kind of sacrifice. Akoponim, I'm not even sure if this is the level the Maamer speaks of, but anyway, there's no agenda in the sense of he is fulfillment. There is not suggesting here that we shouldn't, be inspired and suffused by the kavan of Dira B'Tachtonim. That's how we're here on Shlichus, and to know what the Shlichus is. If you don't know what it is, how can you possibly do it? So you have to know it's to inspire the world and transform the Zion Numbers and what have you. That's got to be front and center. So what does it mean? Not for himself, but it means it's all because of this is Garatzon HaMelech, and whether he gets to see the fruits of his labor or not is immaterial. That's at least one manifestation of this very high avodah that Rebbe is asking for us Purim. Tavshin Chav Gimel. Rebbe is forming his army here, 1963. He's talking to us. This is the generation.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
is the distinction between two levels of avodah? Is it the tayeles? Is it the accomplishment, or that they're trying to achieve a goal? That seems what it seems to be the distinction that the Rebbe is making in the Maamer. In which case, at the first level of avodah, if the goal is just to, it's the goal that the Eibishter wants anyway. So why would that not be as lofty, so to speak, as pure Kabbalah soil, where it's just that's what's demanded of me, so I'm going to do what's demanded of me.
He said for Amor by first and second. That the first level is the Te'elis, that the word he uses here, the benefit that he sees. Part of the agenda is his accomplishment, that he feels fulfilled. Fulfilled and contributing to and seeing the results. You only get fulfilled if you see results. I'm just adding that as a obvious point. The avodah is not for his result, but for the Ratzon HaMelech. Let me tell you another story that the Rebbe told to illustrate the point. Did I answer your question or not?
I think so. I'm more talking about in particular where the Maamer says "V'teilis l'chaz hashefa ba'olam."
Right. And so what that means is that part of his agenda is him seeing the world fixed, the world moving, the world affected. So again, we're saying, they would say, don't have any agenda. You have to know the goal is to transform the world. The subtle distinction here is not for my fulfillment. I'm going to tell you something which, when I heard it, it shocked me. I think I've said it. Purim Tavshin Chai. Also, Purim Fabrengen. You all know that it's one of the historic, it's a historic Fabrengen. It stands on its own because of the length of the Fabrengen, 10 hours or something or more. The fact that it ever spoke to people between the sif, it's all recorded. As you all know, there was Mekayim Pasha Begashmi is Adaliyad. At one point, he actually confused the two, but he didn't say Baruch Haman. The confusion was, the confusion was he slipped out the words Baruch Haman. It's the only time I know that ever happened, and that the Rebbe had come to the Fabeng, and the Rebbe said later, after having had at their Suda together an entire bottle of Benedictine, and he had another bottle at the Fabeng in front of everybody. Because the Fabeng, he drank an entire bottle. That's 2 bottles of Benedictine. This is humanly, and it's very sweet. Anyway, it was extraordinary Fabrengen from the get-go. You can hear from the first sikh of the Rebbe is already after a lot of mash from the very first sikh. And there were tremendous giloyim at this Fabrengen. If you would, just to tell you, if you would read the transcript, you wouldn't know that the Rebbe taken mashke. It would just be very gishmak and personal and interesting and very heartsick and emotional, but you wouldn't know that from the last sikha, the Maamer, which they would not remember, and we learned this Maamer, friends, many years ago. It's a long, deep, meridic Maamer. That I said, Maamer Begilufin. He didn't remember it. He remembered till the Maamer. He called in the next day, Rabbi Shem Tov, and Avraham Shem Tov and Rabbi Yoel Tachazer. Come on, go to the Pratim. At one point, he said, that's what I said. It was something about the Megillah. It was a Nigla thing. I was there, he said. not Mustammad is a mocker. And you want to know how many times they sang the the refrain of Alter Rebbe's Nigni at the end. I heard these two things from Rabbi Shem Tov. Called upon him, so I want to tell you the Rebbe said at the Fabrengen. So we all know the story of the Chassid, the Mittel Rebbe. That the Mittel Rebbe had instructed that all the Chassidim come to Lubavitch there and back. They had the Chazak Chassidus in the towns and villages where they were passing through. So there was a young man, a very talented young fellow, a Yiddish, a Gerotten, a younger man, and he was a very exponent. He was able to articulate the Chassidus beautifully. And so he came to the Mittel Rebbe and complained he wants to be exempt from this. So the classic way the story was, because it feeds his ego. You know, he gets compliments afterwards. There's a wonderful cheer and so on. We all know the famous answer of the Mittel Rebbe. An onion should be of you, but the Chassidus you should continue to teach. So what's the marshal of an onion? The onion itself is inedible, but when it's used to spice the food, it enhances the food. So that's the way it was understood always. That what was his problem? His problem was the satisfaction that he got. What the Rebbe said by the Fabrengen, you know what his satisfaction was? As can safra nachas ruach dem. You hear this? He's not his guy. His yeshus is that he is bringing the Rebbe's satisfaction, which we would have thought is that not the whole tachlis, of which there's nothing higher. It's sort of here, but I'm just telling you what the Rebbe said. As opposed to, the Rebbe should have nachas. In contrast to, he brought the offering, he brought the nachas. Now, on a deeper level, friends, it must be said now that what is the Rebbe's nachas, reflecting the Eibish's nachas, is you are the tachlis. But the paradox is, it's only you when you're not busy with you. Look, I'm sharing the story as it is. These are very lofty levels of bittul. And just talking about it is valuable because it a little bit lifts us. A little bit it gives us it softens the edges a little bit of our petty agenda driven lives. So at least that, but in all honesty, we have to aspire to this Pasha Kipshuta. But that's what he said. That's what he said by the Fabreng and Purim Tavshin Chai. That was his gaiva. Zeh kon schaffen not the Sinuch and Yisrin the Kavan exactly, but I did the job. And what's the job? The job is the nafis. It's not partial at all, because we're going to see later in the next ois. Let's learn it now, how the Rebbe teaches ois the avodah. So is it not bringing nafis to the Odin? Let's see. Let's see and struggle with it together. Yeah, the floor is open, friends. Let's continue. First, you can explain now. So, with the Eved, we just said after Befkeda Nichale. Everyone is fully agenda driven, and the only reason he does what he does is because the fear of the master. Now we're talking about this lofty motivation. Like begin Yikore, but Yikore the Avur. So, what kind of servant is this? He goes on to say, it's all based on Samach Vov. After Kol Avedis Evet Yerak Mitzad Yedisod, and even though the whole Aved of the Eved is the fear of the master, so therefore we would expect 35, he says, see Samach Vov. If it's all just about the fear of the master, so to what degree is the servant engaged just on a practical behavioral level? His mind and heart is elsewhere. That's what we think. The says, he's only doing it with his power of behaviorally. Not that he would be munach means literally lying, involved in, immersed in doing the avodah beautifully and nuanced and with beauty and hidur. Because to do that, the nuance, that needs you got to engage your intelligence to do the work in such a way that there's delicate components of it and nuance. It's not enough even to invest your seichel to do everything you do with yofi or yipui and hidur, which means above the actual instruction. You need more than seichel. You need keifarotz and vatainu. He has a desire for what he does and a geschmack in what he does. We're talking about an Eved, it's not Shaykh. We're saying, is this a yoke? The 5 words, the previous paragraph. No, it's sure, like the yoke placed on the ox. It's the only reason he's plowing the field. Concluding his Shaila. You expect that if it's the avodas of Eved, just a simple action, get it done, and wait for the next instruction. But without beauty and nuance and detail. However, the Rebbe says there's 2 kinds of avodah. But we see the answer is not a theoretical answer. It's just look, you'll see. In the avodah of a servant who is worthy of the title of an Eved. He fulfills the master's request. Not just with his faculties of action. He does it with beauty, and he does it with hidur. That's because he has a geschmack in it. Hello. Here comes the big. So, yeah, geschmack or no geschmack? Yep, absolutely. It's not because of his benefit. This fits with his seichel. This resonates with him. It fits with his seichel, this philosophy. Yiddishkeit is a wonderful philosophy. Is even the depth of Yiddishkeit, not even better. The depth of Yiddishkeit is drawn to Chassidus. Why? Because it really resonates with his intelligence. Or even not even because it resonates, because this is really the kind of life he wants, and this is his gishmak. And we're saying the words of the Maamer, friends. And if they never said this and he's saying it now as we are learning it, means we're getting the koichos, each one on their level. It is not learning academia. So what is the Avela Adarabish Ein Mitzias Latz Miklal? He's not a Mitzias at all. The whole Mitzius, or Mitzias Odin, his entire identity is the identity of the master. The Lochin differently Gamma Nachasich Vatainik Shalodin. That's the other way. Nachasruach and the tainik of the master, Nasa Nachasruach Vatainik Shal, that's his tainik. So here's the distinction. Not that he has a gishmak and pleasure in seeing the smile on the master's face. That's a high level. That's not what he's saying. His smile comes after the smile on the master's face. That's when he has the tainik and gishmak, not before. He serves, and he sees the Odin smile. Oh, then he smiles. That's a whole different level of time. Until then, in the words of the Maamer, he doesn't have time or interest in himself at all. There's the pekuda, there's the command of the order. And Hainu, let's go further. The Maamer spells it out for us further. The ain't a boyfriend she actually tani v'nachasuch m'shalatzvay. It's not the word that he has a gishmak and nachas ruach of his own. Like mevatel zois, but so he's channeling it. He's offering it. He's getting his cues from what's the Adam's time. So I will give him mine. I'll direct mine in that direction. Because then so both again. The Adam and the Eved. Not so. That would be the servant's time. That's not so. He's not a mitzias in halacha kona eved kona rabbi. When he acquires something, it's not that he acquires it and then it's transferred to the master. To begin with the acquisitions, the masters. The Goyim should call mitzias Odin, since he's partial extension of the Odin. That's all he is. And the Odin wants a beautiful avodah. He wants an avodah that has not just done with Moishe, but done with gishmak and with love and with tainig and with rotzen. That's why he does it. Therefore, he is not just engaged on the behavioral level. He does it with the gishmak and with seichel. With all of the 10 faculties of his soul, all to the depth of his soul, the pleasure of being. That's what tainig is. The pleasure of being. And what's the pleasure of being? That pleasure of being is completely surrendered to the Odin's being, to the mitzias Odin. Let's continue a little bit. Zayin. This is the chiddush of the second parsha. Here, the pasuk speaks of avodah. This is the avodah of the Eved. It's all in parsha Rishon. It's child only. It's the ben at the highest levels. And again, to be noted, we're starting with ben, not with Eved. It's not Eved then ben. It's ben. First of all, you're a child first. And first of all, number one, it should be Gishmak and Av and all these is very big avodas. Das Tachten, das Alien. That's all achana for the avodah of the Eved. All this tainug and all of this, it's yours to begin with. The avodah of the Eved is high, even if he says strong words here. It's higher than the first avodah of the great loves, all the way to Ma'itcha. Because if that's what it is, he loves this and he's devoted and passionate and all of the milas. However, but when his beloved will command him to love him, in which way? And do something that doesn't proper. Hashem means proper in his eyes. It doesn't fit intellectually, it doesn't fit with his rotzen and his tainug. Raj, now comes big words which he'll repeat later in the Maamer. The time to look at Raj is a dover son lo yolav, he hates it. The no does not resonate. But what he's being told is something he actually resists. He hates it. I say, if it's only out of love, he won't be able to do it. He resigns. I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm just not doing this. He's not making a rebellion. He's not trying to convince anybody else not to do it either. He's not saying that the Adon is not a master. He's not even saying the Adon doesn't have his good reasons for it. But I can't do this. This goes against my grain. Everything else, yes, but not this. That's going to be the result. If it's only the first parsha of Krishma, as lofty as that is, and b'chol mo'itcha, b'chol nafshchas mesiras nefesh, he's mesiras nefesh for the cause. His mesiras nefesh is his mesiras nefesh. Hashenki be'eved. So this is the kiddush. This is the avodah of the parsha shnia, the eved. She'li mitzius latz miklal. He's not a mitzius. Yasa therefore afilu dov she'en b'te'elas. He does something that there's no benefit and runs against his grain. And he says, "Va'afilu dovar asandoi olav," even something that's hated. We'll stop here and share with you the story. Hashgacha pratis, friends, like everything. And this story, friends, is the complete opposite. I'll tell you the story, and it's kind of Yeshleima.
Why don't you finish till Yud Kei till a couple of lines down? Finished Indian. Finished Indian. Okay, good. Go.
So I have to get done with the minion. Okay, so all right. And Nimtza, yeah. No, where? To where? You want to go? Okay. But you want to the period at least. It's so malis of this of a faithful, trusted servant. Now there is a broad and the son who is doing for this father in brackets love begin yikoda, not for his own glory, Allah begin in order yikoda the avua, because the Yossi etzem echad mitzvah. So he's saying that this kind of ever we're talking about can only be if he's a child, because he's really one essence. The bro kada davo, a child is the leg or the thigh of the father, an extension of the father. We'll continue with Nimtza tomorrow, because that's adding a nuance. Nimtza, they'll read it. The Kabbalah's elba darga hita toina itzela evich mafkeden nichalei. We're saying now even the lowest level of the Eved doesn't have any of this tiny at all. It's just pure Kabbalah soul. But since he's an Eved, so that in the Kudah that he's an Eved, yesh by Maila Gamal Avedim Avak. Why? Because he's going to do something that he hates at the end of the day. The Tachlis is Ben Shu Eved, but even it's just going to fall back on Eved alone, it has its Maila over the highest target of the child. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow.